flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, I'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda items, including the meeting agenda, the May financial fund balance statement, minutes of the May 16th, and regular meetings, and payments of monthly bills, excluding payments to Impression Floral and More, and Carrie Stewart. Does anyone want to make the motion? Mark makes the motion, Kenny seconds. All those in favor? Carries 7-0. Next, I need a motion to approve payments to Impression Floral and More, and Carrie Stewart. Do I have a motion? Mark makes a motion. I have a second. Dan seconds. All those in favor? Carries 5-4, none against, and 2 abstentions. Stanford and Stewart. Next, we'll go into our communications, our MSBA monthly board updates.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of June. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at the recently completed session of the Missouri General Assembly. It was a session notable for what did not pass as much as for what did pass. Among the issues that did not pass were charter school expansion and a voucher program called Empowerment Scholarship Accounts. MSBA's Associate Executive Director for Advocacy, Mike Reed, says overall it was a good session for education.
The good part about it is there was no expansion of charter schools or ESAs and vouchers. For that, I appreciate all of the hard work that our members did. It would not have been done had they not put a lot of pressure on their elected officials and let them know that their activities matter to people at home. So I give all the credit to the people, our members, for that. So it was overall a good session.
Among the bills that did pass this year was an omnibus education bill containing provisions from a number of other bills, including a provision that prohibits school districts from starting school earlier than 14 days before Labor Day, something MSBA strongly opposed. However, that restriction will not impact the upcoming school year calendar because the bill states the change will begin in the 2020-21 school year. In 2020, the school year cannot start earlier than August 24th. The State Board of Education has been discussing what makes a great school and how to measure school progress. You'll have the opportunity to comment on the new proposed accountability standards under consideration by the State Board beginning August 1st. The standards are part of what's called the Missouri School Improvement Program, or MSIP. The State Board of Education has used MSIP for its accreditation decisions since 1990. The primary change to the 6th version of MSIP would be the addition of leading indicators of performance, such as the investment in and quality of school leaders and teachers, culture and climate, and database decision-making and instruction. You can find the proposed MSIP 6 standards on the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's website. The Governor's School Safety Task Force has completed a series of public hearings throughout the state as it works toward completing a statewide strategic plan for school safety. One of those public hearings was held in Kirksville, where Police Chief Jim Hughes urged task force members not to develop one-size-fits-all recommendations. He also warned against making schools into fortresses.
I think that what that does is it makes the cure more painful than the disease itself. Schools need to be a safe environment. Children need to be able to feel safe. They need to be able to be children. And I think draconian kind of measures impact that, and I want to make sure we don't lose that. Because we're focusing on security, and sometimes we might lose that perspective.
At another public hearing in Kansas City, the Supervisor of Safety and Environmental Services for the Lee Summit School District, Ryan Hall, echoed the comments of many of those who testified, by telling task force members about the need for more mental health resources in schools.
I would like to commend the state of Missouri on its strides to create and implement mental health programs. However, these should just be seen as the first steps. I strongly recommend this task force examine areas of improvement in funding and resources available, as too many students and young adults do not get the help they need. This can not only jeopardize their safety, but the safety of others.
MSBA Executive Director Melissa Randall and Senior Policy Advisor for MSBA Center for Education Safety, Paul Venewald, are members of the School Safety Task Force. The group is to issue its report by July 31st. By the way, the annual Safe Schools and Colleges Conference, sponsored by the MSBA Center for Education Safety, is scheduled for July 8th through 10th in Springfield. That conference will feature presentations on a wide variety of school safety issues and is designed for school board members, school district staff, local law enforcement officials, and others who deal with school safety issues. Registration for that event is on the MSBA website. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Just a reminder that MSBA Fall Conference, September 26th through the 29th. We have made your hotel reservations and your registration. That is the board training as well. We require training, so you have an extra night hotel booked for you, but that's already done. So there needs to be made any changes to that. Please get with Mrs. Sterling. If you get past a certain date, you can't cancel anything.
All right, next we'll go into our principal and director reports, and we'll start with the elementary principal, Dr. Hall.
As you know, we've been doing summer school. Our attendance in summer school has been up consistently over last year. As I checked yesterday, we have 168 students on track to achieve our attendance field trip for the last week of school, which would be a record if that holds. So we're very, very happy with summer school so far.
Thank you. High school principal, Dr. Nash.
We're winding up summer school also. It's going very well. We've had 163 students enrolled in our summer school program, which is more than we've had for over 5 years. So it's going great. We're starting to get ready for fall.
Thank you. Maintenance director, Mr. Valentine.
The America's building will be ready for 10 next week. The building project with the 2 houses is probably about halfway completed. One a little more, one a little less than the other. We worked on playgrounds, custodians, we're pretty busy with summer projects.
Thank you. Our executive administration reports, Dr. Scott.
Just note with DESE, if you remember, for a while we didn't have a commissioner. We had an interim commissioner, and that was Dr. Roger Dorson for the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Dr. Dorson has announced his retirement. He is going to work part-time for a while. He currently is in charge of financial services, so he's somebody we obviously all stay in pretty close contact with. He's going to work part-time until they find a replacement. So Dr. Van Diemen finds a replacement. Another thing, we're talking about mental health. The MSBA report was talking about mental health. Monty's crew has completed a small renovation in the old superintendent's office. Heather Snelson and Judy King are 2 counselors in town that see a lot of our kids for mental health services. They're going to actually be able to do that on site now without having to pick kids up and have kids take them off campus to their office to visit with them. So we're excited about that. That's a change in Medicaid law that allows them to still bill Medicaid or private insurance, but they don't have to leave campus to do that. So we're going to provide them a facility. It's an extra office that we had. We had to put some paint on it and clean it up a little bit, but Monty's crew has done that and it's ready to go. So we're excited about that. In April, I visited with you about bus inspections, and I want to clarify some stuff that came out in the report, in the paper, as well as on the internet. So I talked to you in April about how well I thought our bus inspections went. When they left, I felt like we were at about an 85% approval rating from the notes that I had kept on everything from the inspector who was talking to us. He was very clear with me that if it received a sticker before he left that day, it was approved. It got full approval. If he had to come back, because he comes 2 days, if he had to come back the next day and give a sticker the next day, then it would be defective. So and then obviously you have the out of service, which is a whole different scenario. So based on the numbers that I had and kept notes of, and the contractors asked that I be there the whole time, just as a third party, so I was trying to be there the whole time. We had about an 85% approval rate. So then the state report comes out May 31st and it says 70.6 with a 23.5 defective rate and a 5.9% out of service rate. I do want to talk about defective because I think that's misleading. Defective could be a seat cushion, which has no definition of the amount of padding that has to be over the top of it. It was interesting. We asked the question to one of them, and he said, well, if I feel metal. Well, it depends on how hard you push if you feel metal. It could be a bolt that goes out. It could be it could be very minor things as well. So I just want to make sure we understand the definition of defective. It can be more major, but it can be a bulb, 3 clearance lights. It could be one of the 3. It could be out. So then we had one that was defective. It's interesting, and I think he's here. He had a brand new tie rod end put on, and the mechanic put it on upside down. The bolts were hanging down below instead of pointing up. Well, that's counts as defective. It works the same. It works fine, except that it's a danger if somebody falls under the bus. They could grab them. I think was what they told us. Correct, Randy? Right. So anyway, overall, our bus inspections went better than they did a year ago. I just want everybody to understand that. I know what this paper says, but I also want them to understand it. And I told the drivers I was going to say this today because I believe it. It went better than it did a year ago. We're in the state revenue update. We've got our final payment today, ending the year strong. Feel very comfortable about our position. I feel comfortable about our position moving forward. We hit the targets that we've talked about all year, so we are in good shape financially. We'll probably, I would guess, we'll probably raise just a little bit of fund balance, but not a whole lot, but 1% or 2%.
Thank you. Mr. Dahl.
I wanted to touch on a couple things that are unique this year. We were contacted several districts throughout the state, and if I'm understanding correctly, based on some demographic information, student population, things like that. There's an opportunity to participate in a writing consortium, grades, it's for teachers grades kindergarten through 5th grade. There are only 6 districts in the state that are getting an opportunity to do this. So what we've got a representative from each of those grade level teams. We're going to go to Columbia and meet with their peers from 5 other districts and work through our learning standards, basically developing lessons as we review our writing curriculum. So just kind of a unique opportunity to meet with other experts in the area for grade level teams. I know teachers always like to visit and share ideas with people that are doing the same things they're doing. Figure out what's working for somebody else, what we might try here. The same thing, us be able to share some ideas that are working well with our students. So that's kind of a unique opportunity. Something else here, we talk about A+. A lot of times we offer during summer school for students that need to finish up their A+ hours, the opportunity to come in and finish those up during summer school if need be. We're trying to open that up this year to let students complete their A+ tutoring hours during summer school. Part of that being just open up their schedule during the school year to take another course, another elective class. We don't have a lot of students taking advantage of that this year, but the hope is that maybe kind of word spread. A lot of that sometimes word of mouth goes better than just a mass notification. Once they hear somebody else has done it, hopefully that's something our students will take advantage of. Not the same number of opportunities, obviously, as the regular school year, but there is an opportunity for students to take advantage of that. And then one other thing I thought of, we're working, once again, lots of community organizations, community health fair. first Saturday in August, I believe that's the 3rd. Don't quote me on that. I didn't pull up that date. But, be a lot of great things done at that. Lots of organizations, groups working together. Lots of resources available and activities there for our students and community members. So we'll be sharing that as we approach that. We just want you to be aware. It's a good thing to participate in.
Thank you.
And what happens there on the A+ funding, every year that's reviewed as far as the tuition rates at the schools that participate. So it does fluctuate yearly, but as far as it being a major reduction.
What I was trying to say was, the way I understood it, the state on the very last day passed A+ funding for dual credits in high school, 50%. Is that correct? I thought that was a big deal.
And it is. They're still working out the details of that, how that looks, if it's dual credit versus dual enrollment. But yes, it's part of the omnibus bill that they talked about. It was thrown in there, trying to get it figured out exactly what that looks like. But yes, they could use part of those A+ funds to pay some high school credit.
I haven't told you more guidance on that, so we did review the summary, maybe into that time. No, I'll tell you.
All right, we'll go ahead and get into our action items. We'll start off with the Maxim Healthcare Services contract.
We have a new student to our district that requires a full-time nurse with them all the time, actually at home as well. So we are working with the same company that the parents are working with. It's Maxim Healthcare. We will be able to bill the student's insurance for part of that, but the district will fund part of it. But this is the service contract to have a nurse who has passed a background check. They will ride our bus, come to school, ride the bus home. We'll be with the student all day. They have some serious health concerns.
So I need a motion to approve. Motion to approve the Maxim Healthcare Services contract. Michael makes a motion. Randy seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries 7-0. Agreement, amendment with the DSS. Missouri Health Net.
So this is an approval of the agreement of the amendment. So we got the agreement and then we got an amendment 2 days later to go with that agreement with Department of Social Services and Missouri Health Net and the Ava R-1 School District. It allows us to bill Medicaid for occupational, physical, and speech therapy, as well as the situation we just discussed with Maxim. We can bill part of that cost as well back to Medicaid. So it's a standard boilerplate agreement. We have to re-up it. We have that agreement now in place. We just have to re-up it every year.
So I need a motion to vote for approval of agreement and amendment with DSS Missouri Health Net. Kenny makes a motion. I have a second. Second. Mark seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries 7-0. Next, budget amendments for 2018-19 school year.
So a year ago today, you passed a proposed budget for the 18-19 school year. As you know, those are proposed, and that fluctuates as we go throughout the year based on payroll. It could be energy expenses, so on and so forth. We just finished our triple payroll yesterday, made today. So we have budget amendments in front of you. So it just amends the budget from proposed to actual for the 18-19 school year.
So I need a motion to vote to approve the budget amendments for 18-19 school year. Michael makes a motion. I have a second.
I didn't see it was first.
Dan seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries 7-0. Next is approval, superintendent to transfer $1 million, Fund 1 to Fund 4.
So every year as we wind up the school year, the only way to get money into Fund 4, which is the capital projects fund, is it has to be transferred from Fund 1. As the auditor is here and as we wind up the school year, we have to transfer funds. from that fund to Fund 4 in order to do our capital projects. We never know exactly what that number is going to be until our auditors are here, but it will never be over $1 million. So it's a standard practice. You allow me to make that decision, what to transfer from Fund 1 to Fund 4, up to $1 million.
So need a motion to approve Dr. Kyle to transfer up to $1 million from Fund 1 to Fund 4. Do you have a motion and a second? Michael makes a motion, I have a second. Kenny seconds, any discussion? All those in favor? Carries 7-0. Next, MSBA update.
So these are, we just got these late, and I know that we usually like to look at these a month, but these are fairly important updates. It's from USDA. It's mandated updates. It's policy AC, which is discrimination, harassment, and EF. I am comfortable doing it either way. If you've had time to look at those and feel comfortable approving them, that would be good. But we can also do it on the first day of school. That's up to you. I've been through them. They are mandated. There's no option for us if we're going to meet state law and federal law.
Do you have a motion to approve? Go ahead and approve the MSBA 2019-A update. Dan makes a motion, Kenny seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries 7-0.
Thank you for that.
Next, salary schedule.
Okay, the salary committee met, I think, three times. Made some recommendations. Mrs. Parsik, as a board member, sits on that salary committee. With me, as Dr. Hall chairs that committee, with a group of teachers from middle school, high school, and elementary, and non-certified is represented as well on that committee. So we look at lots of different scenarios, but the salary schedule in front of you today for approval moves the base salary from $31,450 to $31,575. We're also recommending vertical and horizontal steps for teachers. So if they get education hours, they can move over horizontally. Obviously, years of experience move them down vertically. All employees will also receive, that take health insurance, will also receive a $20 a month increase to their defined contribution for health insurance. As you know, health insurance is continually rising. We haven't raised that in a couple of years. We currently put $450 in the defined contribution towards a plan that the employee then chooses. This is really covering the increase. The $20 will cover the increase that the employee will see this year. So they'll pay the same amount this year as they did last year. And then we also, staff, when they leave the district, get paid for unused sick leave. The salary committee is making a recommendation. There's two different sick leave pays, because in 2008 and 9, there was a reduction of sick days. And you can choose to receive less sick days each year. It's a 15 and a 12. So there's two different payout scenarios. So it's 2% increase to non-certified salaries and adjustment to sick leave payouts for all staff. Those that currently could receive $25 would receive $30, and those that currently receive $43.75 would receive $52.50. That's the same percentage increase. Cover it all as far as you remember. So $31.4 to $31,575 with a 2% increase to non-certified is really covers it.
So we need an approval for the 2019-20 salary schedule as presented, with a 2% increase to non-certified salaries and adjustments to sick leave payouts as Dr. Dahl has presented. We have a motion. Mark makes the motion. Have a second. Any seconds? Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries 7-0.
I appreciate the work of that group. They do a good job. A lot of feedback. We look at lots of different things, and they do their due diligence. I mean, they want information, so I appreciate them in that conversation.
Section 125. 125.
So Section 125 is a program that allows employees to not have to pay taxes on the portion of their portion of what they pay for health insurance, or dental insurance, or vision. It allows that to be paid prior to taxes. So it's a benefit. It reduces the tax burden for our employees, especially if they have a family plan or cover more than one spouse. That premium gets pretty expensive. We have to renew that every time we have to renew that every year.
So I need a motion to renew the 2019-20 Section 125. Have a motion. Brady makes a motion. Have a second. Michael seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carry 7-0. Next, we have contracted transportation rates.
Okay. As you are aware, in January, the Board of Education approved to partner with the Contractors Association to have an independent audit or study done to look at the financial and efficiency aspects of the system. The independent audit came back and recommended an increase to the paved miles from 265 to 277, and dirt mile rate of 188 to 197. Made some other recommendations about opening the contract and having that discussion, but I think that's a discussion for later. The contractors have requested a 6% increase to the base rate, as well as each dirt and paved mile. There's also been a request for release from the 2 inspection days implemented by the Board of Education last year. That did not come from the association, that came from an individual. My recommendation would be that the Board of Education approve the recommended rates from TransPar and school bus consultants. Any questions?
I'll make the motion that we give them a 6% raise on their base and their mileage.
I second it.
So we have a motion to have a 6% rate on
The base and the mileage.
Base.
Highway and dirt.
paved and dirt.
And I second it.
Dean seconds. Any discussion?
Yes. I promised myself for about 2 years, if I got elected to the board, that I would try to do my best to put, we are so divided as a board, in the school, in the community, and we just need to try to put it away. And our kids are watching us, they're hearing the teachers talk in the hallway, they're hearing it on the bus, they hear it from their parents. We're not setting much of an example. And the issues become personal. It's not just a bunch of people disagreeing, and it's everybody thinks because we disagree, well, he's a bad person. You know, I'm going to get up tonight and I'm going to talk about this, and everybody's going to say, well, he's a bad guy. He was for the bus drivers. Same guy always was. You guys, I don't agree with your opinion. I mean, I pretty much already know where everybody stands, and you all know where I stand. Dina and I have some information about how the bus drivers have been paid, and Dr. Dahl told me that you all had that information, and I'd like to pass it out to everybody. Also, we have some information on taxes about what the drivers actually make. Now, the TransPar study, unfortunately, can be cherry-picked wherever you want to pick it at. I know what, I think Dr. Dahl is looking at the 25% of $74.
I'm looking.
Pardon me?
I was looking at the recommendation on page 10.
Okay, that's what I thought you were talking
That's what
about.
I'm using.
And that doesn't really come up to much of anything. For the last 4 years, the bus drivers have got a 2% raise total, while the rest of the staff got 10%. Now you say, well, they're contracted. That's true. But if you go back years and years ago, you can go back to 1959, the first day I stepped on a bus, the bus drivers were selling and buying buses and contracts. It worked great. The bus drivers were part of the team. They were just like the teachers and the maintenance and cooks and everybody else. Everybody needs to be treated with decency and respect. And I think now we're just going around kicking the bus drivers. It's like they're bad people. Well, you know, if you go back 9 years, they got a 6% raise total, while the rest of the staff got 20.5%. Now, they were just doing their job 4 years ago, minding their own business, and everything was running smooth until somebody came up with the idea that we were paying 116% of the state average of transportation, and we had to do something different. Nobody ever stepped up and said, these guys, some of the roads are driving down are like creek beds, especially now since we've had all the floods. If they run into a bad spot in the road, they can't backtrack and drive around that spot just to avoid the rough spot. They just have to keep going. The information that I look at is on page 6 and page 9, I think it is, on the TransPar study, where it says the AVA bus drivers cost is $200 a day. And the guy in the TransPar study used the nearest comparison at $225. He didn't even talk about the one that's the comparison number 2 at $260. And I don't even know who it was he compared us to. As far as the new bus thing, who in their right mind would go out and buy a newer bus to beat up on these little roads down? We don't have roads like they have anywhere else. I mean, you'd have to be hard pressed to go find anything any worse than we have. I'm sure over maybe in the eastern part of the southern Missouri would maybe have something like that over in the National Forest area. I don't know. But the old buses are probably built heavier, and as long as they can buy parts for those old buses, probably are easier to maintain than a new bus would be. I just want to try to do the right thing for the right reason. And we've hammered these guys for 9 years and they've got a 6% raise. If we compare them to the state average, they're doing a heck of a service to the school because they're saving our school $200,000 to $300,000. It just depends on which figure you want to use here. If you use some of the state averages, it's almost $500,000 or $400,000 compared to what we're paying. If we paid the same rate, if AVA had to pay the same rate as the state average, it's almost $400,000. And we're sitting here talking about very little money for the service they provide. So we begin to sit here and I have the chart here that I always showed about somebody sat down and figured out how much bus drivers were making. It's not up to us to decide what kind of living they should make, how much profit they should make. It's up to us to decide, are they providing a service? And if we give them 6%, we're not even coming close to providing them with the money compared to the money they're saving us at the price they're doing it for now. And I already know that you guys probably aren't going to vote for the 6%. But I don't understand why you don't. And I guess you don't understand why I feel the way I feel. But we have the opportunity here, if we voted 7-0, to do this, 6%, and just give these guys the same raise that we give everybody else every year, and treat these guys with decency and respect. Somebody's got to give a little, okay? I don't think 6% is asking too much to put this thing away. And let's get our community back, and when we have a board meeting, let's not all be mad at each other. There are things that we need to accomplish and things that we need to talk about without this always being in the back of our mind and being such a divisive issue. So I'm asking for everybody to vote 7-0 for 6%. And if saying please helps, I'll say please. let's put it away. Let's fix our community and let's fix our school. Because it's up to us. We have the ability right here. And if anybody has any questions or anything they would like to debate, I'll try to answer them from my viewpoint so I can understand your point and you can understand my point. And I think I'm prepared as well as I'm ever going to get.
So since I've been on board, and before I became on board, the misconception in town and in the papers and everything were the drivers make $40,000, they make $60,000, they make $70,000. So everyone in this room knows what I do for a living, okay? I do the taxes of a third of the bus drivers that drive for the Ava school system. I got the permission of those bus drivers to share with you what they make an approximate based on their 1099 and what they actually make after their expenses. It is not what is being felt by everyone, okay? So with Dan, I have something too.
I was giving you guys a copy, but I was told that you all already had a copy of it, so.
It's what she had, you need to pass back.
Right.
Along with Dan, I agree that there are a lot of things in our school systems that need to be fixed in the school system. We've got things we would love to do for the kids. There's things that could benefit the kids that really, this needs to go away. This needs to be settled one way or the other. We need to do what's right. We need to do what's fair for everyone. Now, when you talk about student safety, these people have a lot to do with student safety. They have a lot to do with student safety. They get those kids, they pick them up, they get them here safely, they get them home from here safely, and they take a great responsibility in doing that. So I believe they need to be rewarded for that. They need to be respected for that. They need to be a part of the school. One of the drivers made the comment to me that before past administration and past board, okay, a while back, before that, they were part of the school. They were considered part of the school, but now they're not. And I don't think that's right. Considering what they do for us and the children in this school, they need to be respected for that and considered part of it. So I believe they deserve the 6%, and that's why I seconded the motion, and that's why I agree with what Dan said. So.
And if you guys don't agree with what I'm saying, I'd like to hear it now. If you're planning on voting no, I'd like to hear why. I think everybody needs to know why.
So I just have a question about the base rate mileage increase that we say is 6% throughout 9 years is what you said? Is that what this
The
is?
total amount that they've got in the last 9 years is 6%.
I've not added that up.
Okay, it just, I,
I've not added that up.
okay, yeah, I'm just
tried
saying,
it, but
I just
I
go into the 17,
No,
18 year, and it says 1.2% on base rate. Do we not approve a bigger raise than that?
It was 1.2% on the base, and then there were, I don't know, it was split between the base, the dirt, and the pave. So much on the dirt, so much on the pave, so much on the base.
And so that's what it was. I thought we did a penny on the.
We did, but
And then it ended up being like a 2 or 3, I thought it was a 3% on the base and a 1 penny mileage increase is what I thought we
if
put.
you add it, it looks that way, but overall, it's still 1.2%.
Yeah, for anybody out there that's looking, if it says 1% on the base, 1% on the dirt, and 1% on the highway, that's 1% total, that's not 3%.
1% overall, yeah, when you do the math.
Okay. So we approve of 3%, but you do the math at 1%?
If you do it that way, you have to do 3 on all 3 for it to be a true 3. Does that make sense?
Oh, I see. So it was just divided.
So like the TransPar recommendation is 453 on the dirt, a 479 on the paved, but it equals a 3. Because there's nothing on the, they didn't recommend anything on the base.
And the TransPar recommendation is based on the school comparison of Avis 200 and the nearest one to us is 225. Instead of going bare bottom on that part, you could just look at, say, 260, because it's the next one. We don't even know where these guys are at. They may have great roads to drive on. I don't know. I don't know how this guy's using this comparison, because he didn't say.
I don't either. The other thing I don't know about transport report is what the Missouri, what the average overall budget for that school was. It doesn't say. Just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
On that page 9, it also says, gives our overall operating budget. And it says we're within the 4 to 6% on our overall budget, which is what they recommend.
And we still will be if we approve this 6%.
And then based on the 2 comparisons, it was, what, 260? I'm not looking at it now. And then 216, is that correct, versus our 200? But it doesn't show their overall operating budget. Does that make sense?
I'm not getting the point, I guess.
Okay, I'm just saying, I mean, if we're gonna compare that salary, I mean, that's one of my problems with the TransPar, I guess, is we're gonna compare this salary to this and say that they make less. It says that, but it doesn't say what the overall budget is for that school. So maybe it's higher, maybe it's that much percentage higher, and that's
That's one of the problems with the study. I wasn't very happy with.
That's what, I mean, we don't know
Leaves too
what
many,
everybody.
leaves too many variables out there that you can't nail down. You don't know.
So when you come down to it, it says that in there that their rate was, they were fairly compensated, but that their mileage was on average more. So that's what the base rate or the mileage rate increase that TransPar recommends. That's the reason they recommended that. Which this seemed easier. I agree with you on, I think the drivers should be a part of the school. I think they're an important part of the school. I'm not disagreeing with that. To me, this seemed easier because we had a report that between the drivers and the district, we paid $5,000 for. And the recommendation was what Jason said on the mileage increase. And it just seems like that. And it seems like it makes sense.
What he's recommending is based on, he's taken out all the cost to operate, say, a bus in Mansfield, and all the cost of what it takes to operate a bus in Avon, if that's where he was comparing it to. And then he he's estimating how much the Mansfield drivers are making and how much the Ava drivers are making. Okay, to me, there's so many variables there that, okay, where is the retirement? I'm sure these other schools are probably paying retirement. Why, where's our retirement?
Yeah. So he was comparing information he got from the school district, from us, and information he got. So if their district, if they are employed by the district, that would be in the total cost of transportation, their retirement package. Obviously, ours is not because they're 1099 employees.
So they've had 6% in the last 9 years. Does anybody not think that's wrong? Or 2% in the last 10 years? I mean, are we rewarding them for what they're doing right? Or, I mean, I don't, to me, I guess everybody else looks at it like that's nothing, but to me that's terrible. What if we don't pay the teachers or give administration a raise because I think they're making too much money? They shouldn't have a raise for the next 5 or 6 years because there's too much money. What if we do it to all the teachers and staff? You guys are making too much money. You know, where are we going to be?
I'm not saying they're making too much money. Especially after this report, I'm glad to have it. Now, do I think there are flaws in it? Just like I said, I got it pulled back up now. Was on they don't even put the figures in on on page 6 with the cost per mile on Missouri average. There's no cost per mile. There's no total operating budget for the Missouri averages, and there's no transportation operating expenses on the Missouri average. So, I mean, it looks like that would be information that would be nice to have. So, but I think it does say that they're fairly compensated, except for the longer routes. And I agree with you too. I would like to put it behind us. I'm not trying to not get along. I really am not. I just think this is the document we paid for, and it's got a lot of information in it. And now we're trying to. I mean, now we're both kind of.
Well, Missouri
Well,
State
I
average.
have any questions and I can get a hold of
Hey.
TransPar and answer those for you?
So the state average was 59,000 for a bus, and the yearly bus cost for us was 36,000. It's like $20,000 difference. They're driving all highways. They're probably driving, I don't know, 10, 12 miles if you're in the city, especially picking up kids and get a full bus. I don't know why it's so high, and I realize we can't compare St. Louis and Kansas City to Ava. But it looks to me like it should be costing us more money to drive a bus in this country than it does in the city. I mean,
But it does say that in there, that the overhead cost to our drivers is less than the average.
because they have their own buses and they don't have any, there's no retirement or anything like that involved in theirs. I guess the bottom line is, us giving them 6% is a pinprick, in my opinion, compared to the damage that we do to our community and our school by not doing this. I mean, I just don't see how you can say it's not fair to give them 6%. Put it away. If they don't put it away, I'll be on your side.
So don't use this report at all.
It is what it is. Like I said, you can cherry pick all over this report. I mean, I could have gone 10 different ways, but everybody in the room would be totally confused by it. Just reading it by itself, I mean, you and I sitting here talking, we're not even, just the two of us aren't necessarily hitting on the same chord, you know, trying to understand what you're saying. And, you know, it's something that probably, and this is probably our fault, we should probably have sat down together instead of hearing what somebody else said and talk about it ourselves, but that's not where we're at, we're here, so we have to deal with it.
discussion? So we have a motion and a second on the table to increase the base, the dirt, and the paved miles 6%. All those in favor? 2 for, those against? 5 against, motion fails.
I will make a motion now to go with Dr. Dow's and the TransPar recommendation to give them the raise.
State those rates.
Please.
So that is moving from $2.65 to $2.77 for dirt, which is a 4.53% increase. $1.88 paved to $1.97, which is a 4.79% increase. There's no addition to the base rate.
So we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? Any seconds? Further, just any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? It's 5 for, those against? Abstentions? 1 abstention?
I'm not voting for no.
Is he who's
I'm abstaining.
Abstaining. So we have 5 for, none against, and 2 abstentions. Motion passes. Next, we'll go to the approval of the 2019-20 bus drivers.
So we have, these are names, the list that you have are names submitted to the district from the contractors. Obviously, the contractors themselves. Each individual must pass all the qualifications. If they're new to the district, they have to pass a background check, a drug screening. Our drivers are randomly drug screened anyway. They have to obviously pass all the licensure requirements, and they have to they have to go to the training prior to driving a bus. So some on your list have not done all of those. They will not drive until they've done all those, but we're getting approval for them up front. And if they don't meet those requirements, then they'll be removed from the list by me.
Okay, so the approval of the 2019-20 contracted bus drivers and substitute list.
I'll make.
Michael makes a motion, have a second. Mark seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries 7-0. The adoption of the budget.
So we've had a couple of budget work sessions with you all, 3 different work sessions. We ended the year strong financially. We look to be strong financially next year as well. I'm asking you to approve or adopt a $13,781,394 budget. Do you have any questions that I can answer for you at this time?
Okay, so I need a motion to adopt the 2019-20 budget as presented by Dr. Dodd. Kenny makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Michael seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries 7-0. Lunch prices.
Mr. Dahl?
Every spring, we have a series of calculations. Department of Elementary and Secondary Education provides a worksheet. We enter information. Our paid lunch counts. This number of lunches are for a time period throughout the year. And there's a calculation that takes place to see where our lunch prices need to be. We went through those this spring. Elementary lunch price is going to move to $1.80. Middle school, high school, it would be $1.90. That's for the full paid lunch prices.
We did not see an increase last year.
We did not. Last year, we were able to keep them where they were from the year prior. This year, after you went through that, follow those guidelines, that's what we need to do.
And the Dalton Street 45.
Need a motion to approve the 2019-20 lunch prices. Mark makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Michael seconds. All in favor? 7-0. No prices.
40 cents.
Same. Bank level at 40 cents. Island area.
Adoption for the 2019-20 milk prices to stay the same at 40 cents. Motion. Mark makes a motion, have a second. Randy seconds, all in favor. Carries 7-0.
Just for clarification, that's if you get an extra milk. You get the milk with your lunch. 40 cents is only if you get an extra milk. So, sorry, we need to clarify that. So, it's not the 185 plus the 40.
Okay. Next, we'll have your authorization for Dr. Dodd.
So as you know, in July, it's hard to schedule a board meeting because families have vacations. This is a yearly motion that you all have. It's not that we won't have to have a quick meeting in July for one reason or the other, but we can't usually have it on the third Thursday. So this is an authorization for me to approve the July bills. I send those to you prior to them being approved for your approval, but I can approve them in our office.
Okay. We have a motion to authorize Dr. Dodd to approve the July bills. Kenny makes a motion, have a second.
Second.
Mark seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries 7-0. That concludes.
One more.
Tax rate. Okay.
So this seems like it's a long way away, but it will be here very quick. We need to schedule the tax rate hearing for August 15th, which is the first day of school, correct, Mr. Dalton? At 6:15 in this room. Obviously, our regular session is at 6:30, but we'll have the tax rate hearing at 6:15.
Do I have a motion? Mark makes a motion, have a second. Michael seconds, all in favor? Carries 7-0. That concludes our agenda items tonight. Our next regular board meeting will be August 15, 2019 at 6:30 in this board room. The motion to adjourn. Kenny makes a motion, to have a second. Michael seconds, all those in favor? Yep. Thanks.
I like Joe, not as much as you. Yes, I will see you tomorrow night.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, sir.
I had them on my head, and they said, oh, sorry about that. And then when I got to there, she was it's no big deal.
Well, they may be, if they are, I'll tell you. Thank you. Okay. Okay.
That's good. You got to go. I guess necessary.
Good. I got some good things about this.
Yes, I have it on my calendar. I have it on my calendar. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Once I got to do
Audio issue there? Oh, it's I swear every month I come in before, check it, we're good. We go back into executive session, that's what some of the Lord, could just be operator here. Everything going all right?
Yeah.